Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Tracy Thomas with RevMarketing.com, and I am here with a very special guest from one of the top martial arts schools in Pflugerville, Texas, if I'm saying that right.
You are,
And
you are.
thank you, sir. Okay. And we have a local renowned martial arts instructor and school owner, and I'd like to welcome Professor Robby Rabadi of Team Rabadi. And Mr. Rabadi, Professor Rabadi, if you say a couple words, to everybody out there that's listening in right now, especially those in your community, do you have any, welcome them to your school, I guess, if you could.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Tracy. I'm really excited to do this today. And yeah, I just run a jiu-jitsu academy here in Pflugerville, Texas, just north of Austin, and just really excited to be helpful in serving my community and helping both parents and adults, kids, obviously, get their start on their martial arts journey.
Great, great. Professor Rabadi, and could you explain a little bit for the people on the call right now, what is the actual term professor, so they understand, from a martial arts standpoint?
Yeah, it's just another fundamental term. So I love that term and coach so much because I love the educational aspect of martial arts. That's the way I look at it. Our schools, our academies are just known for as a place to learn, to grow, safe places that have great nurturing environments, helping all from whatever environment to both bond on and off the mats, and then grow as human beings.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Well, Professor Rabadi, would you mind telling us just a little bit about yourself and your background, maybe like when you first started, and kind of give everybody a little bit of background on yourself?
Yes, sir. So I started training back in 1999, and I started jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai at that time. And I was right around 19 years old, and loved martial arts before I ever even started doing martial arts. And so it was a
Right.
goal of mine to do it. My parents really wanted to see me do it the right way. So when I could pay for it, get myself there, all that stuff. So it would provide a nice backbone of responsibility and discipline leading up to it to set that goal. And so started training then. Was, like I said, already in love with it. So to say I fell in love instantly is kind of, behind it, but,
Right,
loved
right.
it even more, embraced it, enjoyed it. And then found something I loved even more was, as a part of it, was the coaching, the teaching, and being a part of so many people's lives is just beyond profound. And I think it's that cliche thing of finding your true calling within what you do, what you love to do.
And what you just said to me was, really, I just admire it because, I think today's world, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory comment, but a lot of people, even the last 2 years, with COVID and everything, it's been, everybody kind of goes back into themselves, but it sounds like you just really give back to the community, and you're really just all about giving back, and I find that really, really interesting and definitely admire it. But
Yes,
if you don't mind, give a little bit of background and a little bit of history, maybe more so, of your business and its location.
yeah, so I opened my academy in June of 2009. I had was obviously training and competing, both jiu-jitsu, MMA, just any kind of martial arts type competitions. So I was doing that, actively training the entire time. And then so when I saw the opportunity to open my academy, I wanted to do that in my community. I live just north of Austin in Pflugerville, Round Rock. They're really adjacent kind of cities, excuse me. And I was driving into Austin, and so I knew that as the community was growing, that there was a need here. And was lucky enough that things went well pretty quickly, and so was able to feature gi and no gi jiu-jitsu, as well as Muay Thai for both kids and adults, and just been pretty lucky to have all that hard work pay off.
Very good, very good.
So,
Yeah, it's exciting to hear that. It's just exciting what you do in your community. And when you talk about community, we know that there's several areas, from our standpoint, where we can see that, and how people actually look for you, and how much they're engaging with you at your school. And a couple of them are at home and at school. Would you mind talking a little bit about, how your program at Team Rabadi actually helps children at home and then again at school?
Oh, for sure. I think, I mean, we all know the correlation of martial arts and the development of both leadership and discipline that's in there, and that valuable mentorship that happens. That it's so invaluable. And with our members, we encourage them, parents, to bring in their kids and let us know when they're struggling at school, when there's an issue at home, when there's something going on. We're happy to be part of the process of addressing it. Where we got some failing grades on a report card. We had an incident at school. We had something in there. We love to take that opportunity to both mentor, set some guidelines, set some boundaries, understand discipline is a part of the opportunity it is to train at Team Rabadi, the great opportunity your parents have provided you. And we're there for them as their support system, and as the ones who really love to do it and enjoy the process. We never tell them, don't take jujitsu away from them as a way to discipline. No. Bring them even more. Let us help you get that done. And so we've had really outstanding results with that approach.
Yeah, a couple of things that you mentioned, what earlier you mentioned goal setting before we just started talking about this, actually, which I just think is amazing. You have, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about some of the length of the children come in sometimes at a younger age, and they're with you so many years later, and how you actually see those children grow, but how the parents see them grow, the respect and self-discipline that's being taught at home, because it's such a key aspect. It's what's missing in the world today. Once again, I admire anybody that's teaching martial arts out there, because, and somebody like yourself and your team at Team Rabadi in Pflugerville, Texas, what's amazing is that you can take somebody and grow them, but it's not like they come in, they train for a month or two, and then they're gone. And if you talk a little bit about, that life lessons they learn over a period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it beautifully. Even so much of of what you were saying kind of baked into your comments on the question is that, it's absolutely within the longevity of doing it. Like anything of value in our lives that really develops anything, it's incremental. It is meant to be paced. Life is paced, and it's building those habits one at a time, while slowly making yourself a person of that habit. And so whichever habits that you're looking towards adding and complementing to who you are. And so, for sure, that time over everything is huge. And so seeing that, and you mentioned it, like having that great opportunity of seeing people at such a young age, or even an older age, and then develop over time and watch them become that different person that they were striving for is such a beautiful reward for both sides of it. And it's one of those things that you just love to be a part of.
Yeah. And right now, I think everybody that's listening on this call right now, they can feel your passion and the sincerity in what you're teaching and doing. And, in a world full of chaos, it seems like there's a lot of things going on that people struggle with today. Yeah. And I don't think it's as chaotic as we think it is. And I think that somebody like yourself, Professor Rabadi, they can go out to the community and kind of bring a balance or a sense of normal life to people just by teaching everything you're saying, from kids to adults is just absolutely amazing. And I do appreciate that.
Sure, but thank you.
We do have we have another question, it's one that is kind of is so important today. And as time goes on, it becomes such a concern of mine. And I know as a martial arts instructor, you have to have this concern that the social activity, the social acceptance, all these social problems that we're seeing the children grow up with right now. And some say, some of the psychologists and psychiatrists say it's due to, partially because of all the different apps people have and social media and whatnot. But I'd like to talk maybe a little bit about, everything from social, especially when the kids are in school, a lot of the social problems turn into somebody having to use self-defense somewhere, or safe defense, or being able to mitigate a situation by maybe talking them way out of it, teaching them a respectful way to deal with it. Or should they be, something occurred to them, they got to be able to defend themselves. But maybe talk a little bit about both the social and the safe or self-defense, if you would.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more with your statement. Absolutely. So much of that social engagement is that we become so distant through everything, right? And so, not to just completely jump on cell phones as the easiest
Yeah.
one, but just everything's become so greatly distant that we start losing the effect of that of maybe a comment, a misdirected comment really hurting someone's feelings, and that having a snowball effect in a negative way. And such a part of martial arts academy is the community, and in real time learning how to balance and juggle relationships. And I think you talk about, as the world is evolving, and as we are becoming better as human beings and all these types of things in work and production, that some of the soft skills of being a human being are kind of being lost in there, the interaction and how to handle those, and even giving a rise to a greater value of having more powerful soft skills towards those things. And so, as martial artists, as people who train jujitsu, your engagement is so close to people that you literally cannot avoid those types of interactions as being a part of kind of like happening so many times, even within a short window, a single training
Yeah.
session. So you're constantly challenged to find that balance. And you're talking about, obviously, the other more obvious thing, people from every type of background possible, smashed together, and finding that great harmony in there is the beauty of what you try to work towards. So I love the way you phrased it as well. It's so beautifully said in there, that so much of that gets lost with less and less communal activities kind of just baked into our society. Things are a little bit tougher. There's that sense. And so with something like martial arts, when there's so much trust built in, because your health, especially in jiu-jitsu, your health is literally in the other person's hands. Man, we're applying an armbar. Man, we're trying to sweep somebody. We're taking them down. And these types of ideas, you're establishing trust with total strangers, and it really bridges those gaps to where you automatically start giving people an opportunity to get close to you. And so you guys really have a great chance of bonding, creating that strong community.
Yeah. And when I'm listening to you right now, I'm thinking, back in the days when I took jujitsu, for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and anybody, I will just say this because I think this is so important for all the listeners right now. It's so important. And actually, Professor Rabadi is the expert. He really needs to talk on this. But there are times in life when a child is presented with a level of frustration with another child. It could be something as much as a push or a shove. It could be verbal. It could be physical. We don't know what it is, right? They all occur. And then it goes even to the farther level where it's more violence. And Professor Rabadi, I think you are the expert here. You need to talk about this because people need to understand that when they're on the mat, they're dealing with those emotions. You said earlier that creating habits.
Yeah.
They are habitually coming to class. They are creating habits to deal with emotions and frustrations, and you're teaching them how to deal with that at higher levels than they would on the playground. So when something like a push or a shove comes to them, one of your students who's been training for quite some time, they're more apt to deal with it much easier, like just brush it off almost, because it's like they have a skill set and their mind is set in a way to know that, hey, look, I know what I know.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, because I think problems today is children are not learning how to deal with that frustration, that level. And that's anxiety that is created. They're not used to that anymore. And I think what happens is they lash out, if you will.
Yeah. I think you nailed a couple great points to this very thing that we're talking about. Releases for frustration, creating anxieties, exacerbating situations, really making, obviously, the old saying of the mountain from the molehill type thing, when something as simple as walking away and really not giving credence to something as simple as, obviously we're just talking about a slight versus self-defense type of thing, a shove, an incidental bump, something like that, and learning to walk away. And I have absolutely nothing to prove and nothing to really say to this person besides move on and understand that, and then differentiate between a true self-defense of myself or somebody else type situation. And so, yeah, when you are put, and this is the beauty of it, you are literally faced with with your problem solving as another human being, and that the, you know, with the depth of all of that happening while you are going through your own stuff. And so what's great, being in the moment, feeling all that stuff happen, it starts bringing out your true self. You can't veil that, you can't cover that. So now you're under this great exposure of like, it's time to grow. It's time to really develop and push ourselves
Yeah.
To handle these situations. This is what life is. And do we just bottle it up and take it on the inside and just have these frustrations? Or do we just, you know what, let's just sweat it out, work as hard as we can, smile, share a comment, find that the person that you just grappled with, did jujitsu with, for 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes, whatever it was, has all the same feelings, all the same insecurities and inadequacies or things that they're working on or have on their mind. And you guys can share a smile in a moment there and just understand, hey, we're all the same. We're all the same. We're struggling so much below the surface. It's that calm ocean sea, while so much is churning below the surface, that you have that true understanding, and you get to learn it in real time with a true experience that will make you never forget it.
That's awesome. You know, and I'm just, everybody that's out there, you know, in Pflugerville, and just to make sure we're on the same page there, Professor Rabadi, when we say Pflugerville, Texas, is there surrounding areas or surrounding towns or areas that, you know, that where are some of your students coming from?
So many of my students do come from Round Rock, Pflugerville, Austin, of course. We're right on the north side of Austin, so a lot from Austin, and many from Georgetown, where we're actually opening a second academy here very soon.
Okay, well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, you know, as we get narrowed down to the time, I'd like to ask you another question.
Sure.
I know there's a lot of martial arts schools that primarily teach children, and then, you know, and then Professor Rabadi, there's Team Rabadi that really works with adults and adult programs. And could you talk a little bit about your adult program, your martial arts program, and how adults coming there, how do they feel about it? What's their sense, and what do you feel about teaching them? Kind of give the, you know, what it does for them, everything in general. Like, is there stress at work? Is there things in the community you can help them with? And kind of give the rundown on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had that great privilege to also work with adults a ton. We've got an incredible group there. And yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. Everyone comes in feeling uncomfortable, unsure, not quite ready to. They want to trust, but unsure. Are these guys ruffians? Are they looking to prove a point? Those types of things, and automatically, I hope we have that great reputation of just disarming and feeling like, oh, they're nice, normal people who love to train and love to do martial arts and train together. And so it's about a couple things for us. Of course, it's like, of course, there's the physical component, and that's a given, and that's almost the easier side of the thing. You know, and you know this, Tracy, you've trained many years, obviously martial arts is a part of your life, is that your body in a short period of time starts physically conditioning. You know, you want to run a marathon, you start running little by little, you set small goals, even if it's just walking for a few weeks into light jogging, and it just develops over time. So the physical conditioning happens pretty quickly. And then it's all about the mental side of it. And, you know, that complexity of both the chess-like approach of jujitsu, of course, but then the social side, the confidence side of it as well. And it's such a layered process, and each person is somewhere different on that spectrum. Some it's more of a confidence issue, others it's more of a trust issue, others it's more of a literally like the technical puzzle pieces, putting those together issue. And so it's all these different things. So much credit to my staff who's really taken this behind what I like to do. And they will always like look to tailor it to each person and create personal relationships, even within the academy relationship as well. And and what's really great, and having a great group of students, is that they love to follow that lead as well. They love the idea of mentoring and
Right.
teaching others, and making that a part of what their journey is. Like, no, I not only want to achieve my black belt in jiu-jitsu, I want to turn that around. And while I'm doing it, even if somebody is 6 months my junior, I want to be part of their process as well, to get them up to speed. Because as I learn, I want to give. And in fact, I get to learn even more, get to give, get even more as a part of that. And so,
And what you just said right there, and I'm sorry to cut you off there,
no, go
Professor
ahead.
Rabadi, but right there, it's so, this part about giving back, and for the parents out there right now, or the adult students that are out there right now, there's something you really don't understand until you give back that first time in martial arts.
Yes.
Or you're working with your instructor on doing something to help others greater than yourself. And I years ago, you think about it, I just had a conversation with somebody that's a historian, and they talked about years ago and how communities were so much tighter than they are today. But it's because they all built their houses together. They all did things together. They struggled together. They laughed together. Everything was, all the emotions they went through together.
Yeah.
And everything you're talking about right now, to me, is bringing back something that our world is missing, not just here in our country. We have a great country, but what's missing in the world today is the thought about giving back, and the fact about caring about other people. And right now, listening to you, it's so much more than teaching jujitsu to you, and that's what brings emotions to me. It's like you're really serious about, you're passionate about helping the world, and that's what I love about you. Just listening to you. And for anybody that's listening in right now, I have never met Professor Rabadi. This is literally the first time I've ever met him.
Yeah.
And just listening to him right now, I think anybody else is listening in, whether you're a martial artist or not, I think you're thinking the same thing I am. Very sincere. And, when I listen to you, I understand as a martial arts instructor that I think people have, and community members have a little bit of there needs to be a paradigm shift as far as how people think about jujitsu. It's not what everybody thinks. You don't go to class. It's not, everybody gets hurt. This is, you can listen to what he has, a set system in what he's teaching, and it's so much greater than jujitsu. So Professor Rabadi, I have the greatest respect for martial arts instructors anywhere, but especially in communities like Pflugerville, Texas, where they get to meet with you. And like you mentioned, your staff at Team Rabadi, you guys are just doing an amazing thing. But if anybody wants to visit you out there, I see you have a website, RRBJJ for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm taking that's what that is, .com.
Yep.
And is there any other way, do you want them to reach you out? I see you have a phone number on your site. That's 512-956-8894. Once again, that's 512-956-8894. But is there any last closing words you have for community members out there thinking about it, whether they're a parent, whether they're a teenager, whether they're an adult?
I just simply close by saying that one of my favorite sayings, we actually have it painted on our walls. We have it a little bit everywhere all over our academy. There's really two of them. So, but one is, the hardest part of training is showing up. So that's the given. But the one that I love to really talk about is the journey is the reward. And so we talked about habits. We talked about goal setting. We talked about all those different things. And there's that point where you are and where you want to be. That's our goal. And we have to bridge that space. And really what the whole idea is, the goal itself is ephemeral. It's not going to last forever. So even if that goal is, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to feel more confident, all that, well, things will change, right? Like there'll be things that you'll be unconfident about beyond that. There'll be temptations beyond it. But it's really about this space that's in between those two, where you are and where you want to be. That is the most important part of that. And where we constantly say the journey is the reward, that's what we're trying to get, and trying to create these habits that stick with you forever. Whether they're ones about community, or they're ones about your physical nature and what you start doing, instead of me first thing reaching for a cup of coffee the moment I'm out of bed. It's a glass of water, a walk, then I reward myself with coffee. Those type of small habits and how they compound and affect you and start changing who you are. into becoming the person that you're destined to be, that your potential is pushing you to want to be, and that voice inside that's constantly saying, go be the best of you. That's what I would leave everyone with. Pursue it, even if it's not in martial arts, it's in something somewhere, and pursue it and really take it on.
Yeah, thank you. And I really greatly appreciate everything, taking the time to do the interview. And once again, rrbjj.com or 512-956-8894. And reach out to Team Rabadi. Go out and meet Professor Rabadi there in the community and see what he has to offer. And once again, thanks everybody for joining us here at revmarketing.com Business Review. And we look forward to seeing everybody on the next one. Take care. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy.